3rd, 2021 Board of Mayor and Alderman work session. I'm asked Alderman Small to say the prayer, and then we'll get to our agenda.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to be in your world today, Lord. We thank you for allowing us for loving us as you do. Lord, we ask that you come into this meeting and be with us this morning, this week, conduct the city's business. We ask that you go with each worker this morning in the city and in the county as they go about the business of Fayetteville, Lincoln County. We ask, Lord, that you bless this food for the nourishment of our body. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen.
Amen. We'll have a review of the May 6, 2021 work session minutes. Does anybody have any corrections, deletions, additions? If not, we'll take those into record. Next item, public hearing on FY 2022 budgets. We voted on that. That's standard in June of each year, have our budgets. Everybody's okay, we'll just carry that on Tuesday. Same thing for, we have a public hearing on rezoning 1107 Hedgemont from R2 to C3. And so we also voted on that. That came up from Planning Commission. So everybody okay? We carry that on Tuesday. We voted to have that anyway.
Mayor, I do have a comment here, and I know that we did, vote on to move the. I'm okay with moving the budget hearing on, but I do have a concern, and I have voiced this before, and it really came clear to me in the Public Works Committee meeting this month, and I think we need to, as aldermen and elected officials, to meet with the department heads either at the beginning of the budget cycle or sometime during the budget cycle, because I would like to talk to them and see what they need. It might not be that we can afford everything they need, but at least it would give us the knowledge to know what directions that department head might be going, or the equipment that they might see a need for in the future. But we don't know that because we're allowing the city administrator and the finance director to adjust these budgets and everything before it gets to us. So we don't know what their original requests are. So when this came up in Public Works, it's like, that's why we need to know this stuff and to be able to plan for it. So I would just request, we're elected to be good stewards of the city's money and to spend it in a good way, and I think we're doing our best, but we need more knowledge if we can have that. So is there any way that we could see what the department heads in each department is asking for before it's cut?
Well, we've done it different ways in the past. I don't want to serve as an alderman. We've had it to where the whole wish list from each department has come, and we, the board, sat. And a few years ago, the board decided we didn't feel like it was our responsibility to be the final make or break. There's another situation where we've had budget worksheets presented from each department to us in a format to where we've seen what their original request was going and then what was selected down the line. So now the board, I'll let the rest of the board discuss on how they like to do the budget.
We also sat and haggled with the department heads over cutting stuff to balance the budget because everybody has what their wants and needs are, specifically their wants. And when you start to balance one and you have to take something off that, it becomes our responsibility to make that decision. And in my mind's eye, that's the decision of the city administrator and the finance director, because they're the ones seeing the overall budget from every department. And we had hours and hours of discussions because of that.
Well, I think we at least need to see the list. Maybe we shouldn't do the final negotiation with the department head, but not knowing what they have asked for. So now, say Public Works, they've come up, we're looking at a truck with some problems, and this is the first I heard of. We're getting complaints from the community, but we didn't take into consideration in this budget, things that we might need to be looking for down the road. So even if we could get a list, a printed copy of what their requests are, we We didn't get that this time, and
When you
we don't
say,
have.
excuse me, when you say, complaints, what complaints for what the departments didn't get? Is that what you're referring to?
No, ma'am. What I'm referring to is we're getting complaints from the subdivisions and the different residents where the garbage truck is leaking, and it has problems with the seal or the body's rusting out. And we need to know in the back of our mind, we need to be.
But that didn't have anything to do with the budget. That has to do with repair of the equipment within those departments. Those issues are brought to each individual committee, and we have hashed them out there, and they're obligated to let us know their complaints to let us know their complaints about things that aren't working properly, and then the department heads come and tell us what these repairs are going to cost. That doesn't have anything to do with the budget and us deciding what we're going to allow capital equipment to be or request to be. I've done it those ways that the mayor was talking about, and believe me, it's a hassle. But I can understand wanting to see what the requests are, but they're still going to have to be cut if you need to balance a budget, because there are things over time that an emergency purchase is an emergency purchase. If you have a piece of critical equipment and it goes down, this board, I would think, would certainly be in line to look at that and get it for the operation of that department. But to be there in a city administrator's role, and we're the ones doing that, I'm not for that, and that's just my opinion.
Well, I think we need to know what's coming down the line.
I
We need
understand
to
what you're
know kind of, okay, I've got this garbage truck, the body's rusting out, we've got leaks in the back, or it could be the fire truck. I mean, same thing with the fire truck. We know that's coming. But, you know, we need to, in the back of our minds, have this knowledge to know what these department heads might need. It's just like a home budget. You know, okay, we need a car for the family, we need a washer, a dryer. You've got to plan, you've got to know what you're planning for. And if we don't see what they need, how can we plan or in our minds think this, we've got to be tighter here so we can buy this in the future?
Well, if you remember when we were going through the budget worksheets and we were going through repairs, I made the comment sometimes, is this too low? Is this enough? Because I signed the checks and I see all the repair work that comes through. And so I think we all take each of us, a pretty good look at, over my experience with each of us that's been on the board long enough, that we take a pretty good look and we ask the pertinent questions at the time. To answer your question, no, it's not a hardship at the beginning for any alderman to see what the wish list, and it's normally on one. I always say it's a wish list, because what happened is we say, you know, is this a need or a want?
Right.
And there's a difference between a need and a want. So to answer your question, no, it's not a hard thing to do, but I will say that the board in the past has kind of decided on, we want the city administrator and the finance director to head off as much as they can. And then within that, I think we've seen a reduced list of, hey, I know the budget's over a little bit if we do this, what's the board want to do? So, any other comments?
To me, I think a happy medium would be going into the budget cycle. If each department has a list to begin with, a beginning list, I don't see any problem with us getting that list. At least we know what they was asking for going in. I just don't want us to haggle it out in a meeting like this, because that's where you really get into some time issues, you hurt some feelings and all. But to know going in what their list might be, but I would still want to leave it up to the city administrator and department heads to narrow that list down, instead of it being, for lack of a better word, dumped on us.
Exactly.
I believe that there was a comment made in Public Works that caught my attention too, and I was taken by surprise. It didn't have anything to do with a garbage truck leaking or whatever. We've been dealing with that issue, and I'm the one who really brought that up. I'm the one who had that put on the agenda, a certain area. But then there was a comment made that it surprised me. It took me by surprise. The comment that was made was by a department head. We was talking about possibly what we'll be able to use that funding for government stimulus funding, and we think it's going to be about $1.8 million plus. And it's looking like, now, it's looking like it's going to be a narrow window of what that can be used for. The comment I heard made was that it took me by surprise because I didn't know that this took place, but I wouldn't have known, probably, that apparently during working through the budget process with the department heads, et cetera, there must have been some kind of comments made about, well, we can put this capital expenditure for a vehicle, whatever it might have been, I don't know what it could have been, off, and hopefully when we get that stimulus funding, we can buy it out of that, you know. Well, no, I don't think so. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. It looks like that's been shut down as far as being able to buy equipment from what we know. So there could have been an expectation from department heads that, okay, that when that money comes in, we're going to be able to come back and ask for these things with that funding, which is probably not going to happen. And I believe that could have kind of got things a little bit off track. But I'm in complete agreement with Alderman Small. If we have a equipment situation that has to be took care of, we just have to, whether it's in the budget or not in the budget, we're just going to go ahead and do a budget amendment and do it. That's what we'll have to do. If the fire truck broke down and it wasn't worth repairing or whatever, we would just have to look, well, we're going to do it, but how are we going to fund it? That's going to be the biggest question. Are we going to do a 3-year loan? Or are we going to do whatever? So I think there might have been some expectations that maybe that funding would be available for some requests that they could have had up front. And now that funding seems like it's not going to be available, and that caused a little bit of questions, and I hope that we've answered them questions. I think that Alderman Small answered them questions in the fact that, okay, if it comes down to the point you got to have it, you got to have it. So I believe that's kind of what kind of brought this conversation on. And it did kind of surprise me too, because I was thinking of putting a budget together. To me, in putting a budget together, you deal with what you know you've got. You don't deal with what you think you're going to be able to use something for later on. That's kind of a hopeful. You can be hopeful, but
Wish list.
that's a wish list. And if you're not going to be able to do that, it might have made some department heads think, well, I wish that would stay in the budget if I'm not going to be able to use this funding coming up. And I think that's where this come from. But I do believe that if it's an important enough purchase that needs to be made, I believe they can come back to this board and we'll consider it.
Absolutely.
I believe that's right. But I have no problem with getting a list up front on what they're,
To see what they
and to compare it with from beginning to the end, and we'll kind of know. I just don't want to be in a negotiation in between, because that's where we get in kind of hard feelings with department heads and boards, and
we have been there.
we've had that, and we've had feelings get hurt, and you could have an alderman that's
Championing something for a specific department.
or you could have an alderman that sometimes just speaks their mind and might hurt somebody's feelings. You know, it could. So that kind of fixes that problem.
Right, and I totally understand that. I don't want to haggle with the department heads, but I do think we need to give them the respect to come to the board and say, this is what my wants are, this is what I think my department might need in the upcoming year. Not for us to haggle with them, but at least let them present their case of their budget.
Well, they need to
And then
do
from there, and then and us get a list of, you know, what they see their department needs.
Well, they need to do that in a written format. They need to give it to us in writing, not as a sit-down meeting.
Well, there has to be a fair balance with that too, because you don't want them, that they went to the city administrator, they went to the finance, and they didn't get what they felt like, and then they come around to us, that we're going to supersede that. So it's a balance, but, and we've handled it over the years, and it's all worked out. So yes, we can give more defined information. You know, we kind of adjust the budget process each year.
But don't we, don't we sort of get a wish list now in committee meetings? I mean, that's the way I look at it. It goes to them, then we send it on to finance. So, I mean, we do get an understanding of what they need and what their wants are at those meetings. So I really don't see, right, but that's,
for the future, for planning purposes, you don't get that.
Right, exactly, but we can't predict the future, just like we couldn't predict that we're shorthanded right now for firemen. You know, we've tried to bring that up, and here we got one hurt again off the job. So we didn't predict that this could happen, but I think each committee member, as we're in these committees with the direct department heads, I like it that way, because they bring it to us, and then we pass it on to finance, and finance, we bring it to the full board. I'm okay the way it is. I think I'm fine with it, but that's just me and myself.
Back then,
Allen?
used to.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I like the way it is now, but getting a list is fine.
Well, just to say, having been used to that in the past, from where I worked, and making out a budget and get all the requests from from everyone that wants specific stuff, and they are all pertinent, important pieces of equipment. And then we get called in by administration and the finance committee to tell us what's priority for year 1, 2, and 3. That was specific in itself. And then we get called back again to cut that from your department because you can't have that much stuff. But you put it in year 3, and it's still a request, but it's not going to be critical for this next year to balance the budget. So it's just a process depending on what you're used to and what you've been through. We've been through both sides of it, so.
I just think it's poor planning. If we can't do it this year, I totally get it. You know, we don't have the money, we try to balance. But in the back of our minds, if we know this information, we could look at year 2 and 3. Right now, we're planning for next year, and that's it. We don't, you know, because we don't know what they've asked for. So that's why I think a list would be beneficial to us for knowledge purposes and thinking about next year, so.
Well, I'd just like to ask for those requests that get put down to another year, are they kept on file somewhere? That's what I thought. It's not like it goes away, but they know they want it, or they may need it, but they don't need it next year. They may need it year after next, but they may not get it to year 3. So, and of course, if it breaks, it's going to be gotten. I mean, whatever they're asking for is critical. It'll be taken care of, hopefully, by this board.
Okay, so I can just come to you, Mr. Collins, and get the wish list of what the department heads asked for in the initial budget process? Okay.
Well, normally after we approve this budget, you'll get a budget book. If I'm not mistaken, all the budget worksheets from the beginning are in there from each department all the way through.
Every year.
Yeah, so you see the process of all the way it went through. So, okay, well, all right, we're good. Everybody good on that? We go on Public Works, Mr. Plunkett.
I don't even have an agenda, I don't remember where I was on there.
Here, young man. Here.
Oh, have we tell you?
You got 3 things
I
on
was
there.
just telling, I know Wood Drive and
Yeah.
is on there. It come through our committee and they asked that the board come up with renaming Wood Drive from the electric system substation down to the bypass. So if y'all want to submit a name for that road, we'd like to change that. It's not going to affect any addressing or anything, but it'll just clean up our map.
We did specifically try to mention not to use personal names.
Personal
right?
names,
Get
yes.
into that because it may be someone that wants.
And then we'll bring it back through next month if you all.
And we didn't feel like it, we didn't feel like it, we should come up with a name. We felt like it, the whole board ought to have an input, you know. I mean, you know, you have to kind of think, you got a complex out there going up, soccer complex going up, and you're gonna have other recreational facilities on that road at some point from beginning to end. Now, we're only talking about from the Wilson Parkway up there to close to where the substation is, right?
Correct, to the
Right.
Vincent substation.
So more or less just along beside the property that we own, and somebody come up with some names. We didn't feel comfortable doing it ourselves, and we just felt like put it out there for the board and then let the whole board decide.
And the reason being for it, the way Wood Drive comes around, if you come off of William D. Jones, it comes around, it comes down to these houses this way, and Wood Drive still continues this way. So it's in a Y there, and both of them's Wood Drive. So it just cleans everything up.
That doesn't, well, I mean, it doesn't matter, I mean, once you get the map straight, it wouldn't cause any 911 issues, I mean, you just follow.
The only address on Wood Drive from the substation down to the bypass is the new electric meter or something on the soccer complex.
Yeah, the rec center, I mean, the soccer complex, had to have a 911 address in order to, so they can be changed pretty easy though.
That's all, and it's gonna affect us is all it's gonna affect.
When do y'all want to bring it up to a name in it or something?
By next month. Okay.
Well, I will tell you that I suggested Soccer Drive.
I would like to keep it a name of the people who donated the property to us.
No.
They don't want their name on there?
No, they don't want, they didn't say anything about a street, but they made it clear. They made it clear they don't want their name or anybody's name on that complex, period. It's very, that agreement that we got with them is very restrictive on what you can do on naming things in honor of whoever. They would not be happy if we named that street in there. They wouldn't be happy.
Soccer Drive, huh?
I mean, I don't know that they named the street specifically, but get a copy if you want to. If you don't have it, get a copy of that deed from the city attorney, and you can see there's restrictions on what you can do in naming things out there, very restrictive. So if you don't have a copy of that deed, he can get you a copy of it, and any naming of anything going on out there has got to be very, very restrictive. I don't know that they mentioned the street. They couldn't have because it don't have anything to do with them. But I don't believe that they would be happy if we did that. I don't think they'd like it. Now that's just my thoughts.
They own the street.
Do they really?
They did. You know, when we took possession of the property, it's ours now. There's not even a right of way for the street there.
Well, see, there's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it would be good for the rec committee and the rec director, if they don't have it, to get a copy of that deed to see what the restrictions are. So when you begin to name things out there, you know that you can't do this, you can't do this. And it's available. I mean, he can get it for you. Just you got it with me, just not snapping my fingers in a hurry. So I'd be a little bit leery about that.
But if you'll get those names to myself, Deidre, Scott, Pam, whoever. So
Well, we just come
all the
back,
rest of them.
kick it around, come back next month, and we'll come up with something, I guess. And so,
And you have the annual agreement for concrete and minor bridge work.
Kerbers won this bid. It's for basically emergency situations for 1 year from the date of the signing of it. We just need permission to draw the contract and get Scott or myself, whoever, city attorneys and mayors, whoever sign it, so that we can move forward to that in case we have something like Adam Street comes up again, or the deal down at Cattleman's. Some of y'all remember that years ago. We can do it. We've got prices for all the equipment, and we had one back years ago, and it went by the wayside, and we're just redoing that. But we need to get permission to sign that contract with Kerbers for 1 year.
and that is just for under the bidding limits. Any job under the bidding limits, or how does that work?
Any emergency situation, we could use them.
Any emergency
But
situation?
as far as bridge work, anything under 20 feet, we could use them to do.
Okay, all right. So it's basically the same type of agreement that the county road department has.
Same thing.
Same thing the county road department has.
So on this bid form, you have an hourly rate quoted by Kerbers.
For equipment, yes, sir. Material's not on there, I don't think, or man hours.
Yeah, you just have hourly rates per equipment.
Correct.
Is the board okay with moving this forward to Tuesday?
Yeah.
Okay. Next item, purchase of new garbage cans from sanitation funds.
Yes, sir. We've about run out of carts again. We ordered back last June. We got them in around Christmas time. We're down to 23. We're proposing to order 50 more. I told the committee yesterday we'd probably charge $75 for them. They're costing us 71. You add shipping to it. We called, got a PO yesterday, and the shipping, everything, they're gonna cost us right at $79. So we're gonna sell them for $80. And this would come out of the sanitation fund, somewhere in the neighborhood of $4,000.
Eddie, is this, if a customer wants a second garbage can?
That's where 90% of them going.
Okay.
That's, we haven't had that many houses built, but I guess everybody being home and creating more garbage, and everyone's asking for another cart. And we're down, and the last time it took us 6 months to get it. If it takes that long, we'll be out before they come in. We've only got 23.
You still have the small ones available
Yes,
as
ma'am.
well? You getting any requests for those?
We've had 2, I think, and then one of them we went and picked back up because they didn't like it.
Too small?
Too small.
I know in our area, I've seen garbage just laying on the street, and customers need to know, if y'all pick it up, it has to be in the can, not just bags on the street, so.
That's true. Now, after a holiday, we will do it after a holiday, but not just on a daily basis, no. Any more questions?
Any other things you got to report?
Finally got a little rain.
All right, thank you, sir.
I think we're gonna have to take this to vote on, right?
Yes.
Because it's outside of the budget.
Everybody good with moving that to Tuesday on the garbage cans? Okay. We'll go to police. Chief Howell's sick today. Mr. Collins, if you'll cover that report.
Yes, sir. Health permitting, Chief Howell will be here Tuesday to give the full department report, but there is an item the board needs to consider regarding the firecracker chase. The initial permit that the board approved did not call for the closure of the north section inside square from 6:15 to 10:15. And the reason they want to close that small section is to put up the start-finish line. And the chief did not have see any issue with it, nor did the police and fire committee.
So do we need to carry this on and vote on the revision, Mr. Collins?
Yes.
All right.
Since you all voted on the original as it was originally presented, this is a revision that needs board approval.
Okay. Everybody good with that? All right. Anything else under police?
No, sir, not at this time.
Any other questions on police? On to fire?
The only thing to report, the process for the fire chief is hiring a fire chief is continuing. We've had a few interviews and assessments and more scheduled for next week. And the chief will have the statistical report on Tuesday.
Any other questions on fire? Okay, Parks and Recreation. Mr. Thompson?
So let's see, good morning, how you guys doing?
Doing well.
Good, good. Policy for naming properties. That'll be,
Yes, it was, it's under the, on your iPads under Parks and Recreation. It is a policy that was presented to name various properties throughout the city, including buildings, trails, greenways, etc. And the Parks and Recreation Committee would send it on to work session for your all's consideration.
Anybody on the committee want to speak about?
We looked at this for a couple of months. I didn't have any problem with the way it was written.
At this moment, we don't have anything written down, correct? As far as the policy on that?
In in essence, this ensures that anything on city property must have the approval of this Board of Mayor and Aldermen to be named.
Or be renamed.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Comments?
I don't see any issues with it. If a committee's good with it, I mean, if this is what the committee's, then Mr. Thompson's good with it, I don't see any issues with carrying it on to Tuesday night.
Carried on?
I'm thankful that we, have developed a procedure. It's in writing that people know. In the past, we have gotten things, people have named things, or somehow it just became a named place, and it caused controversy. And this way, we've got it in writing. The board has to approve it, and we would be open to listening to the public if they had a specific thing they would like done. So it gives the public input, and it gives this board the approval power. So to see it in writing and having a policy, I think it just clears things up for everyone.
Okay, all right, we'll carry it on to Tuesday. Go ahead, Mr. Thompson.
I don't have that form in front of me, so I'm gonna go off what I went through with the committee. We had our water pumps that went down at Don Davidson. We have one pump that's installed right now. We're looking into seeing and getting a quote for the second pump to be put in. Right now, we have that one pump that's doing double duty, and and it's working right now. We're not having the issues that we were having down there. Also down at Don Davidson, we had a drain tile collapse down there. There's a walkway between all the fields. We had to shut that down and put up another gate because we have massive holes where everything's kind of falling in, and we've put up a few markers for people to know where to step in at so they won't fall down in those. We did have Public Works out to look at it with us, and it was we're suggesting that we keep the caution tape and all the signs and stuff up, and actually go through and dig it all up during the fall so we can replace all that. That's what we're suggesting. That's what we're getting suggested right now. I'm trying to see how much it's going to cost us, equals and things like that, just for it to be safe down there. Staffing updates. We did all our interviews for the recreation coordinator position. We did like one person. We've extended that person the position. We're waiting to hear back, or absolutely try to get them to engage with us, lock in with us full time, or to say yes. So we're waiting for that right now. I believe that person is going to be the best for our facility. We've had all our concession workers up and going, learning how to use everything. Our lifeguards are in place. And our maintenance guys right now, as we speak, since it's raining, the last 2 weeks have been non-stop pool. So right now, I've talked to them about cleaning out all old stuff that they're creating, and they're real big on this right now. They're creating a shop in the back of where trucks and all that stuff go inside of. They're creating a shop back there right now, so they can actually have room to create and to fix things like they need. So our staff right now is absolutely going strong. Our maintenance update on our pool has been repaired. So what we were waiting for, we had a few issues. We actually had an issue yesterday. We had Mr. Neal come down since he was around. He came into town, looked at what we had, made sure everything was in, and the pump was in, working well. The chemical leveler was in, working well. Checked everything out, taught us how to look at everything, utilize everything. He's also to the point where I just text him what we need to do or show him a problem. He sends me back step by step what to do to fix that problem. So came in yesterday, looked at everything. It was good. We had an inspection Friday. There was a pre-inspection. I had the inspector come in beforehand and look at us and tell us what we would get dinged on. We had a little issue with the numbers, which we have heard is an ongoing issue. We fixed that issue. We also fixed the issue with the numbers on top and the markers on top. We fixed the issue with the gate yesterday. The gate has to be self-locking, self-closing. So right now we're looking at the only other issue we had was the chemicals, which we believe we corrected yesterday. I went and looked at the pool this morning. It's fairly clear. We're going to do some more tweaking to it here when I get back As a matter of fact, it's probably happening right now. My head garden's in there. So we're hoping to have the pool open. I'm trying to see who's in the room right now. So we're trying to have the pool open today. What we're going to do today is we're going to set it out on Facebook. And what we're going to do today on Facebook, we're going to set out if you like our page, and if you like this, the post we make, we'll let everybody come in for free. And then what we're going to do upon that, we're going to also have a early bird pass that you can get for the summer at a discount price, just so we can get people in there. So we have the 3 different passes that we're going to be selling for people to have out there. We also, with our sports, we gave all the young men and women that was part of our sports, our soccer, our baseball, as well as we get the softball over. We gave everybody pool passes. That right there was a big hit of a lot of the young men and women that was out there, little kids, I should say, little peoples. So our pool's up and going today. We're going to put that out to try to get everybody into the pool, at least today, because we don't see how it goes today. So that right there is an absolute win on our part, and everyone's kind of happy about that. That now we can go on to the next that comes up. Let's see what else we got on here. Hours of operation for our restrooms, or just our thing. We're still trying to get someone to do that for us, to be in the evening, that can lock up our bathrooms as well as look at our facilities in the evening. We're having a lot of people in our parks after dark. I'm usually here Tuesday and Thursdays. I'm here usually sometimes until 9:45, 10 o'clock, and then I go home because we have programs that last that late. And at night I like to just drive around and see what's going on in the parks, whereas I'm leaving town, and we've had a lot of people in the parks, so we're probably going to have to, and it's nothing bad that's going on, it's just people are out there, you know, doing different things. So trying to get someone to lock those bathrooms up, just so we can clear that issue up. Outside of that, events, programs, we had a kids fishing rodeo, which we're calling our Littles Fishing Rodeo, next week, the 12th. I usually have a check-in every Wednesday with Mr. Quandite. Yesterday, I think he was busy. I didn't get a response back from him, but I did have Mr. Moon come in, and he has been helping me out a heck of a lot with getting people to donate, and people who we should call, people who we should reach out to, and that right there is going well. I told him come back in today, and we'll talk, because we have an adequate staff right now. At least we have a couple of concession workers that sit in our front, and that gives us time to do a lot of things. We're not answering phones all day, myself and Jennifer, so we're going to work on that. We're going to have, with that, I have flyers. We put the flyer up on Facebook. We're going to post it other places as well, so people can see that. What we're doing is that we tagged fish in the past, is what I heard, and a lot of those fish don't get caught. Majority of them, a lot of them don't, and we end up giving, they said they end up giving the prizes away anyways. So what we're going to do is going to have from 7 to 9 o'clock, we're going to have registration and have all the kids register, get everybody's name, put in the hat, and that's how we're going to draw our prizes, so everybody gets a chance, even for the big kids, the little kids that are there. And then we're going to cut registration off at 9. We're going to put lines in at 8, and so from 8 to 12 we're going to have those littles out there fishing, and after that is whoever wants to fish. So after that, new programs, we have all the programs up and going. We have a few more that's trying to come in. Yoga is going to start next week. Next Thursday at 6 is going to be in our small room. It used to be called the lobby, but now it's called the small room, just because the lobby I thought was the lobby. So we're going to call it the small room now. We had someone come in and try to look at putting mirrors up in the room so that the room will look bigger, plus people can see themselves as they're dancing or doing classes. We're running into issues on Saturdays with our programs, just for the simple fact that people are renting our facilities, and we have a class that starts at 10:30 and goes to 11:30. So with that dance class, people coming in and setting up on that side, so we're having to start telling people, can you set up half the side, or can we just do this, let the class go, and then you can continue. So we're working those things out, and we have a few other programs that we're working on right now, trying to get up and go in the facility. So if anybody knows someone who does boxing, karate, different type of dance class or something like that, or someone who does classes, tell them to come over to the facility, and we're going to work it out, try to get it up and going for these young people to have something to do, especially during the summer. Sports updates. Our baseball is done, and it was a great season. I think the littles got rings, got some pool passes. They had some fun. I know people are trying to recruit already for their teams. I'm not going to point people out, but people are already trying to recruit for next year. I believe your team did well, and so we had nothing but great responses from baseball, you know, so again, thrown in the way we did, and just jumping it off, it came out, it worked well. We put everything into it that we could, and hopefully next year will be a little bit better, well, a lot better. I say a lot of it better.
You're not recruiting outside the city limits, are you?
No, no.
I would, so it is you, no.
The process, you got your processes in place, and Jennifer did a great job of, you know, picking it up and working it through and getting the sign-ups done, and then I think did Miss Brenda come back and help with the softball?
She did. She's working amazing with that softball. I was down there the other day, there was a lot of people down there. I believe I seen Miss Dorothy out there. Someone told me it was the first time you've been out there in 10 years.
Maybe nostalgic.
Are you having problems with this one over here, Coach? Whining around and crying and...
I think he's just doing a little shaking hands and talking to parents and seeing how old kids asking for birth certificates and stuff.
Well, just so he knows, he can recruit outside the city limits.
Oh, he can.
About 80% of our people using recreation from outside the city limits.
Yes, sir.
So
Can we know who's in first, who, is there a first place and second place in this baseball?
No, the first was Huntland. We tried to get them, but
yes.
Who, oh, it was, huh?
unfortunately,
Yeah, I remember they saying that was who was first.
Y'all need to start stacking.
we are.
Okay.
Yeah, baseball did good. Softball kicking off, doing well down there.
Soccer did well.
Soccer absolutely did well. We enjoyed that. Now they're kind of happy about being up on top of the hill. Hopefully next year, getting that kicked off. We're working on something for that kickoff. We're not gonna put it all the way out, but we're trying to get something for that kickoff for that facility. And we're trying to work on right now. The person that we're trying to bring in is they're very good with sports. And we know the city is heavy with the sports. So this person right here was one of the things that we absolutely hammered, and Jennifer hammered, was sports. Because Jennifer does not want that on her plate too much more with sports. So we hammered sports. And one of the things I did talk to this person about was flag football. Because we are getting a good push for that. We've got a lot of interest in that flag football. So we're looking into having that come out. Concessions. Our concessions are up and moving. We are now doing pizzas in our concessions. We have we got Sundrop, we got Palmer's coming and bringing things, and we have hot dogs that Mr. Scott cannot get enough of in our, what do they call what's it called? What are we heating them up in?
Air fryer.
Air fryer. I got one, don't even use it. But our air fryer is what everyone's using right now. Our people are using, our concession workers, and they're thinking that's a lot better than using the grill and stuff like that. So we got that up and going. Other than that, that's what we're working with right now. We are burning on all cylinders right now. Our crew is making waves. Everyone's working together, and you know, I'm loving it out there. Our whole culture has changed out there. I wish everyone would get a chance to come out there and see what we're doing. You know, see the changes we made. Talk to our employees, our staff, our team, and see how they feel about things. You know, yesterday we had parents sitting outside waiting for their lifeguards, and I went out there and talked to every single parent, just because I want them to see who the hands their kids were in. You know, and just had a good conversation with them, told them what I expected. You know, told them we're going to be good, and they had any issues, any problems, they said they absolutely, their kids are loving the job. So that's all I love to hear. So hopefully you guys get out there and check us out. All right.
Thank you.
I will say this, I've had some compliments on the new soccer complex that this came from people that knows what construction is about.
Yes, sir.
And they've been very impressed with how that's coming around, how that's coming out. That's they'll tell you it's a very professional looking, going to be a very professional looking facility.
Absolutely.
So I think it's going to be really good. And of course, I've already mentioned the city administrator, which y'all knew this anyway. It's my understanding, I believe, Scott, that after the sod gets down, it's got to stay down 60 days before it can be, laid on. So, and of course, be very critical that it's maintained the way it should be.
Yes, sir.
Very critical. But being irrigated and all that shouldn't have any problem.
Gotcha.
Should work great. So.
Okay, yeah. Another thing I was going to say, I did speak to Mr. Hopkins about working with the high school, with our facilities, and seeing how we all can work together, push those facilities, you know. So we are working with that, trying to see what we can get up and moving and for the best for all of us. We did put a bridge, we put the bridge in down at Don Davidson. I did get a text message from the cross-country coach saying that he is very thankful that we did that, so the guys don't have to run on the outside, so we did that, and so we're making some waves, like I said.
That's been a long time coming, that bridge.
Yep. Our guys jumped on it, and I asked them what we need to knock out, and they said that bridge is something that needs to be done ASAP, so I said, let's get it done. As well as we're putting in I need to talk to Mr. Eddie about putting this down, but we have a bench that needs to get put down for the Lions Club. So, knocking some things out, so let's see what we got going.
Thank you, sir. We have the planning coach. Ms. Gentry's in the class this morning. Mr. Collins.
Christie will give much more information Tuesday evening at the monthly meeting, but building permits, 16 were issued. Total permit fees, $2,800, and the project evaluation was $786,915. Property maintenance, they had 19 summons to municipal court and have had 225 violations addressed to date. And of course, the rezoning will be on Tuesday's meeting agenda, both the public hearing and the proposed ordinance. And as I said, Mayor Christie will have much more to report on with the branding initiative, celebration of independence, cruising, and several other issues.
Okay. Any other questions on that? Next we go to IT. Mr. Scavali.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
I don't have any items for y'all, but just a few things to touch on for a report for the past month. The tourism website is still having content added to it. We actually talked with Steve Chandler. He said that him and his colleague May Lynn they've gotten the kinks worked out that they ran into last month. I had to fix some things with the website, and now that that's fixed, they're just going through and adding content. I actually took some screenshots 2 days ago, and it looks completely different from the last time I looked at it. They've got dedicated pages for the city heritage, nearby attractions, outdoor facilities, the Tennessee Whiskey Trail stops, and a whole page dedicated to the Slaw Burger, just stuff like that to bring in tourism. I just finished putting the last of the shopkeep systems in at the pool, so now they're fully ready as far as my end, and they got a landline there for emergency calls or anything like that. Moved some offices around for the new employee that we got up front, put Pam back in where she's residing now. Michelle up at the front where Pam was sitting.
Where's Pam at now?
In that small office.
Oh, I got you. I remember, yeah. I heard something about that. That was planned, yeah.
We had a little free time, and we actually got to tackle the security camera that was down in the garage that's been down for a while. We actually ran a whole new line down to it, about 150 foot. Archive Social, I don't know if y'all are familiar with that. It is a company that archives all of our social media presence. So before, Jerry was the administrator over all Facebook pages, and since he left, we took him off as administrator. Well, Archive Social lost permissions to our pages after that, so Scott set me up as an administrator of the pages, and then I got with Archive Social, and now if there's ever an information request regarding anything with our social media, it's archived and it's there to be grabbed if it needs to be. Email migration, as you know, we had a change with the email. We are now in a Office 365 environment. We didn't change the address, so it's still Fayetteville TN right now. There were a couple more things that I needed to change on my end, and now RapidScale is reviewing files that I sent them to confirm that the Active Directory on our server will match what it gets uploaded to in the sync. So, as I said, they're reviewing the files, hoping to have a go-live date once they respond back with me with that. This should be an easy transition since we're already in Office 365. And that's really it. Other items, I bought a couple more uninterruptible power supplies. They're failing left and right. There was a big batch that were bought between 2011 and 2013, and after about 10 years, they're just going out left and right.
They go out, they're done.
That's my report.
So when the shop keeps the concession software with the baseball and the Little League sports, everything went well as far as.
Everything went well.
Okay, good. That's good. Okay. Go ahead.
Well, on this cyber security, we had a study done, a few months back. And of course, if you watch the news in the last few days, the companies, not federal government, companies is having major issues with that now. Of course, we're small, but I mean, it could still happen. So you feel comfortable that,
We've been hit before.
yeah, you feel comfortable that we probably got our, everything's in shape to take care of us, or do you see
We
anything else?
addressed all the items that company who did their review, we addressed all of those, and they said with what we have,
Right.
we are very well off for
Okay.
what we have.
Well, I noticed the city school system just went through a study also, and they could score from A down through on down, and they scored an A. And I think a lot of the school systems, according to that report across the state, is in really bad shape. They're scoring really low, so even though we're small, I mean, if they hit us for like $1 million or whatever, that's big for us. So I would just simply say that even though we've done that study and everything, and you being in that position, if you see something else that we need to address for security, I certainly hope you'd bring it up.
I know y'all were talking about this money that's been coming in, and I don't know if it'll be an opportunity or not for, and we've got switches that are 10 years old.
No, it won't be. Anything that we would need to do would have to come out of our general fund. This money coming in, I think we just about figured it out. It's very restrictive on the 1.8 that we think we're going to get is very restrictive on what it can be used for.
I was thinking
It could be used for broadband if.
Well, I thought there was some priority with
Broadband.
Security, working
Could be.
from home.
Yeah,
Maybe-
I think cybersecurity,
It could be if it's-
Like it falls directly.
Yeah, it could be if it's connected with broadband, it very well could be, so that's something, if I was you as a department head, if that was, some of that was available from what you do, I'd be right out there in front asking for it. Because, everybody's gonna be asking for whatever they get of that part, so, I do know the broadband, I guess that all comes into cybersecurity, but I'm really concerned about, have been concerned about the security, and I think we're in pretty good shape.
That's me every morning. I'm like, if something happens,
You know,
something happens. I mean,
it's-
I've got all the backups in place, but still
Right.
doesn't stop it getting in if it got in.
Yeah, and I don't know if we ever took that extra insurance out or not, that was recommended, did we?
Yes.
So we got a little extra insurance there. I don't know what, I'm not gonna say how much it is, because if I do, that's what
They'll know exactly what to ask for.
But anyway, I appreciate you trying to keep us in. Also, I finally figured out kind of what we're doing with the iPads here, where each committee is available to us on the iPads. And we didn't have a training session, but we should have known this. I did, forgot it. So every single committee is available to us. Committee meeting is available to all of us now.
Yes, sir.
I have one request. Don't change it. Leave it like it is.
That's all Pam's handiwork right there. She's set
Yeah.
up all these meetings and
Well, it's really good the way they got it. It just took me a meeting or two to get into using it like I should, but I just don't change it.
I like it. I like having every individual.
Yeah, I do too. I like having it available to us. Every meeting is available to everybody, and it's a good thing.
Anyone else have any questions for me?
All right, thank you. Okay, we'll go to finance. Item number 1, second reading of the occupancy tax ordinance modification. We did the first reading at the meeting in May. Nothing's changed. We just need to do a second reading, and then it becomes official. And that, like I said, this is not a tax increase on the locals. This is a pass-through for anybody that comes through and stays at our motels or hotels.
And when
Or
will that-
Airbnbs.
Once we pass that, when will that go into effect?
Johnny?
I have it in front of me, but July 1st, as God says.
We have all the documentation from when we did it initially, and so all we have to do is update that, and it's ready to go. If the board approves it on June 8th, June 9th, the notices will go out to put it in effect July 1.
So we got about 3, well, we got, I don't know how many places we got, so that go in. I did notice, I noticed the occupancy tax that came in last month was almost, it was way up from what it was a month last year.
People are traveling again.
Way up, I mean, from what it was. It wasn't the highest it's ever been, but it's probably the highest it's ever been for that particular month. It was way up.
But we can't keep up with the the rental property, can we? I mean, there's no way of keeping up with who has it.
Well, I mean, there is some way. I mean, the state passed some legislation because there were some Airbnbs that were not reporting and not paying their sales
I know we have a
tax
lot
to
in
the
town.
state.
Yeah.
So there's something that tracks them now.
Yeah.
I think there's things that tracks all the advertising on, the Googles and the social media and stuff. So I think the state has a much better way to track point of purchase and everything else now. So if everything's okay, we'll carry this Tuesday.
Yeah.
Second item, FY 2022 budget. We discussed it. We called for the public hearing, so. Everybody good, we'll carry it to Tuesday? Okay. Next is FY 2021 budget amendment ordinance. At Finance, Ms. Roselle presented this. Like I said, she's in class today. This is the end of year kind of housekeeping for the purposes of the audit. The majority is putting in the money for the bond issue. You have on your iPad under the Finance Committee, has the exact amounts. Everybody's good with that? We do this each and every year. Resolve any accounting issues.
Yeah.
Everybody's good, we'll take that Tuesday. And then also there is a city school budget amendment ordinance, which from what we were told, Finance is the money that's come in reimbursing for the summer learning camps that are going on with the city school system. Their meeting is actually, Mr. Bryant, Monday, my understanding. So
9 o'clock Monday.
So they will pass this on Monday. Correct, this item?
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, they should.
So.
Should do it, yeah.
So contingent
I'm
that
not
they.
saying that, I think I've got the agenda on my iPad.
So contingent that they pass this on Monday, we would take this up on Tuesday. Everybody okay? All right. Any other things under finance?
For sure, just on I'm pretty sure they're gonna do that.
No, sir, other than Stacy will be reporting Tuesday about our local option sales tax. And as the Vice Mayor pointed out, also our occupancy tax, both good months last month, very good months.
Okay. Any other questions on finance? We'll go to administrations, Mr. Collins.
The first item, sir, is to bring notice for our July meeting schedule. The July 4th Independence Day holiday falls on the Sunday. In accordance to the approved personnel policy, any holiday that falls on Sunday will be honored on the following Monday. So with that being said, we've had to shuffle several committee meetings, and you all have a copy of it. We will provide adequate public notice and hit FPU Channel 6 and several other areas to notify the public. The next item I did want to touch base with you, and I'll have more information on Tuesday. MTAS is offering the Elected Officials Academy. It's an interactive virtual classes. For example, session 1 will be June 21st, and that's the foundations of government, charters, codes, and local acts. And then they've got a whole listing that I'll provide everybody for Tuesday. And this is a great opportunity to take advantage of this offering and get certified as a elected official. I'll have that and some other project updates, including LPRF and William D. Jones on Tuesday.
All right. Any other questions on administration?
So at the bottom of that updated schedule for July, there's a footnote immediately following police and fire. Is that referencing anything in particular, or?
Yes, ma'am. The Parks and Recreation Committee is actually on the schedule. It says 7:30.
Okay.
But the footnote, the committee decided they will adjourn police and fire, then go right into Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
Mayor, I'm not sure. I don't see it on the agenda. The only thing I see on the agenda, well, there's a bunch on the agenda for Monday night, but I see a couple of budget amendments on here, but they might have passed that budget last month. I'm not sure.
Okay.
You might want to check on that, Scott.
Yes, sir, I will.
Yeah, check, you or Stacy check upstairs with the school system on that. Okay, the last items are just board appointments. I notified the boards within the parameters of our 15-day notice that we have FP board appointments, reappointments for Russ Dixon and William Hurd, and then we have 2 IDB appointments of Mickey Lawson and Lucy Williams. So if it's okay, we'll carry those on Tuesday night. Anybody have anything else they'd like to bring up today? I just mentioned that First Friday's tomorrow.
Yes.
Weather's kind of looking
Better, yes.
but it looks like on social media we have a full list of vendors.
We do, and we're over 60 vendors this month, and Chief Howell has agreed to help us with the policing of the square entrance, getting everybody in there set up as safely as possible. We're going to have vendors are going to be everywhere, and just praying for good weather.
Even though it's 5 to 7, a lot of the food trucks and some vendors stay until dark, so at least 8. So I encourage everybody to come out. So, okay, we'll adjourn this meeting and we'll reconvene Tuesday. Have a good day.